It's Dr. Mark. How you doing? I am here in New Mexico recovering from my back surgery, but I want to talk to you about something today that is really important in the field of longevity, health, aging. It has to do with what I wrote about in my book, Young Forever, the longevity switches, which are these embedded ancient conserved pathways that are in our bodies that help activate healing responses. And they work across the whole section of your biology. They don't just deal with one thing because they're root cause systems and mechanisms. And what it has to do with this component in our bodies called NAD plus. And this NAD plus activates one of the key longevity switches called sirtuins, but it has a broad range of effects. We're going to talk about those today with a guest we have who's developed a company that I personally love. I don't have any financial relationship with them, but I do take the product every day because I think it's really worthwhile and has helped me. In fact, I just redid my biological age. I did it 2 years ago, and I was 43 when I was 62. Now I'm 64, and my biological age is 39. So something's working. I don't know if it's that or other things I'm doing, but let me invite Baran, who's from this company called Wonderfeel, who will join us in a minute. He's really excited and passionate about this topic. I think I've been doing a lot of things to enhance my own health and longevity, and it seems to be working. I feel better. I'm doing better. My biology is better. My biomarkers are better. My biological age, methylation is better. And one of the things that's been core to my approach is using something called NMN, which is a precursor to NAD. This is the biomolecule that we all have that is, again, activating these ancient conserved pathways that activate all kinds of important functions in our body, like DNA repair, improving mitochondrial function, reducing oxidative stress, reducing inflammation. These are all the fundamental root causes of aging and age-related decline. Here we are. Well, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you, Mark. Great.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. How are you? You look great.
Great. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So we just sort of did a little introduction about basically the topic we're going to talk about today, which is how we can use these fundamental molecules in our body that have multiple functions. When you take a drug that has a single action, you take a ACE inhibitor, it binds to the ACE receptors, it affects your blood pressure. But biomolecules are things that have multiple effects across a wide array of biological pathways that regulate our biology and can either make us sick or healthy. And one of these key molecules is NAD plus, and the precursor of this is NMN. And I talked about this before with you, but I want to kind of dive in. We have a limited time today, about 20 minutes. I want to get into a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be hopefully a little bit rapid fire. I want to talk about inflammation. I want to talk about mold detoxification. I want to talk about fertility. I want to talk about menopause. I want to talk about COVID, long COVID, cardiovascular health, and how all these things can be affected by sort of similar common mechanisms, and we can approach them in a similar way. So let's dive into inflammation. Inflammation is one of those things that you've heard about. It's linked to every known chronic disease, from heart disease to cancer, diabetes, and dementia, obviously autoimmune diseases, a whole range of things that are driving inflammation and are causing us to age fast and die. In fact, the whole process of aging is called inflammaging. So how does the work that you're doing at Wonderfeel and the work on NMN impact inflammation and this whole process that relates to inflammation in the body?
Yeah, let's see if we can cover all these topics. But yeah, inflammation and chronic inflammation, as you mentioned, is one of the main causes of age-related decline. I think there's a paper by Stanford and Buck professors that really highlighted those specific issues that, is the 90% of the mortality. So when we are younger, our bodies are actually, they're so well equipped to deal with all kinds of offenders. What are these offenders? Like starting with poor diet, sugar, right? But then there's stress, there's environmental toxins, pollution. Even if you eat really well and if you exercise, because low physical activity also causes inflammation, you still do air travel, So there's this constant effect. Our bodies are constantly repairing, fixing, getting rid of them. But as we age, it becomes harder and harder to just like put all kinds of stress. So all of a sudden the inflammation starts building up. So what we have done is we have done a series of preclinical studies, and we have taken healthy human cells and we have injured them using, I think, hydrogen peroxide. So basically we increase their IL-6 levels. What that is one of the main biomarkers in our body that is the inflammation biomarker. So yes, these cells were injured, and then we used, for the control group, we used dexamethasone, a very powerful steroid. I'm sure you've prescribed it before. And
this is actually an amazing study, everybody. Listen up, because this is mind-blowing what you're about to tell us.
Well, sure enough, dexamethasone works really well. And,
it's like prednisone, a steroid, right? That's what we use for,
So then what we have done is we have taken some of the ingredients in our formula. We've taken NMN, we've taken ergothioneine that is derived from mushrooms, and the polyphenols. And we have put that on this injured cell. And sure, there were some improvements with the inflammation. But what was really impressive is when we combined them, the increase, like the amount of inflammation that we are able to address was phenomenal. So dexamethasone improved the inflammation, decreased inflammation by 51%, and our combination decreased by 36%. So that's remarkable. I mean, we're still working on more studies. I don't think we can publish it this year, but not everybody wants to take steroids, and not everybody can keep taking steroids all day long. So being able to come up with this natural solution, something your body produces that is NMN, and these like very natural ingredients from olive oil and grapes and mushrooms, is having this great influence on bringing the chronic inflammation down, so your body can work on other things, not just fighting inflammation. It's nonstop offenders.
No, it's true. I mean, it's great, and the combination of these natural molecules from mushrooms and polyphenols and NMN will actually help sort of naturally regulate these inflammatory pathways, and they work by these master switches in the body that turn off all these inflammatory signals and gene transcription. I talk a lot about it in my book Young Forever, but I think this is a really important finding. Next, I want to jump to mold. Mold is a big issue. I personally had mold toxicity. I almost died from it. I lost 30 pounds. I was in bed for 5 months, and I know how bad it is. And about 50% of homes have mold in them, and are water damaged. And a lot of people are sensitive to this. Not everybody, but it is a big problem. So tell us about how NMN and the combination of products in Wonderfeel NMN, Youngr NMN, actually work on addressing the issue of mold toxicity and mold detoxification.
Mold is, I think, very tricky. You're probably one of the pioneers bringing that into the forefront, because not everybody is sensitive to mold. So some people are just very good at coping with mold, and I think it becomes very tricky when 4 people living in the same house and one person is sensitive to it, but nobody understands why this person has fatigue, or they have mood swings, or they're gaining weight.
They think they're crazy, right?
Right. They have metallic taste, like, what's wrong with you? And it's also, I think it's really hard to detect as well. So you guys are making great strides in understanding. But so just like we talked about chronic inflammation, how these ingredients are really helping fight chronic inflammation, now we're getting into something more specific. So the first line of defense, I think, bringing the chronic inflammation down. But then how do you detoxify? How do you get rid of these offenders, which are mycotoxins, which is the particles that come from molds? So starting with NMN and ergo, they're very interesting because they start this catalytic conversion of binding into these offenders, these mycotoxins. So it's a biochemical process, actually, that's happening in your body. But you're empowering the enzymes. So what are those enzymes? One of them is sirtuins that is inside the cell, for instance, that is able to go and attack these offenders, these mycotoxins. Another one is PARP, for instance. PARP is also very important. It uses a lot of NAD. PARP is very important, also helping DNA to repair itself. So what's happening is these mycotoxins, they're like chipping away, or they're scratching your DNA. They're damaging your gene expression, and PARP is constantly fixing it. But in order for PARP to be able to fix it faster, better, more efficiently, it needs to be, in a good state. So as we age, there's not enough NAD necessarily for PARP to be as optimized. So these are some of the enzymes that are critical in detoxifying. So imagine somebody going in there with like a sponge and soap that you need to use to get rid of the grease. So the body needs to be able to create these things. So you need to help the body, basically. Another one that is interesting is it helps regulate the NRF2 pathway.
Yeah.
So there's different pathways for us to be able to detoxify our bodies from these offenders.
Yeah. So what you're talking about really is very important because, the like I said, there are multifunction aspects to certain biological pathways, and sirtuins is a multifunctional kind of almost super duper uh, health promoting uh, pathway. And it works across the longevity spectrum, but it works specifically on reducing oxidative stress through the NRF2 pathway, reducing NF-kappa B, which is turning off
Mhm.
inflammation, activating other healing and repair enzymes, repairing DNA, mold detoxification. So it really works at a very fundamental, basic level that helps your body deal with all these problems. Now let's switch to a topic which may seem a little bit off here, but fertility and menopause. How does this all connect to fertility and menopause? Because I think there was a great a great conversation I had with David Sinclair once, who's studying NMN, and he said he was able to reverse. He called it mousopause, which is menopause in mice using NMN. And there seems to be some significant data about this. Can you share the findings about the science behind this?
Yeah, I think science is still coming along. But there's a trend. I think that started with David Sinclair from Harvard, where women are inspired to use NMN for fertility treatments or to increase their chances of getting pregnant. So what is the reason behind that? So I think that is based on the theory. Animal studies show the theory that it could help with fertilization, increasing the quality of the eggs. Um, so I have some by my list here. I'm looking at my list. There are a few different studies that have showed that it improves the quality of the oocytes. These are the immature eggs, the eggs
Yeah,
that need to be turning into embryos. So their quality has gone up, and that led to better fertilization rates, and that also led to healthier embryos. So that has been proven actually on animal studies like mice and pigs, I think, on a few different ones. And then another very interesting one is NMN treatment have improved the chromosomal alignments. What
hmm
that means basically is there's a less chance of having like Down syndrome or
yeah,
similar
hmm
genetic issues because throughout generations there's these genetic mutations that could end up in your eggs, and there's the DNA repair process again we talked about that your body is exposed to. I mean, your body's constantly
yeah,
performing. That needs to also happen inside the ovaries. That needs to happen also during the fertility process.
hmm
So yeah, this is like it seems like the results are good. I'm looking at my notes again, just to read up a couple more things. So it helps with actually modulating NMN and NAD, helps with modulating the hormone levels,
yeah,
regulates the menstrual
yeah,
cycle, promotes regular ovulation, and supports follicular development.
yeah.
Um, the
So
good thing now is there's now human clinical trials on their way. So
that's
this,
amazing. Well, this is quite amazing because hormones are we seem to really have a big issue with in fertility, and so anything that can help that is great. People are going, what is NMN and what is this stuff? Just to kind of recap for those joining, NMN is a molecule it's a precursor to something called NAD plus, which is something your body naturally makes. So NMN, NR, NMN, NAD, they're part of a kind of an enzymatic process to make NAD. And NAD is a fundamental molecule in your body related to energy production, in mitochondrial function, in DNA repair, and activating these pathways, these longevity switches called sirtuins. And so it's a sort of essential part of your biology. The problem is it declines as we get older. It declines because of various stresses that happen in our life. And so when we supplement with it, we can actually raise those levels and actually activate our healing system. So this is what I talk a lot about in Young Forever, which is our body has this innate built-in healing system. How do we turn that on? When you cut your skin, you don't go, hey, skin, could you please bring in and recruit stem cells, recruit
yeah,
macrophages, recruit fibroblasts? Your body just knows what to do. So you have this built-in system. The problem is it gets messed up because of the lives we live and the toxic food and the stresses and environmental toxins. So we need a little help. And that's why every day I take NMN as part of my health regimen. So just for those who want to know what that is. And if you want to read about it, you can go back to my book, NMN. NMN is not like D-ribose, but there are many, many mitochondrial things that are key. People are asking this, how is this different than something with NAD? NAD, you can't really take orally because you have to give it by injection or by IV. And this is why NMN is a precursor that you can take, absorb, and it turns into NAD. Let's talk a little bit about the scientific findings about COVID, because I think this is really interesting. COVID-19 and what people are suffering from, which is long COVID. It's probably tens of millions of people in America and maybe more around the world who are suffering. I know many of you out there. I've seen many patients who've had this. I particularly had it, and I was able to cure it, knowing what I know. But it's really an important topic, and so many people are suffering. And the response rate from all the longevity, I mean the long COVID clinics around the country and hospitals, it's just dismal. There's very little to offer. So what is the story around NAD and NAD precursors with long COVID and COVID recovery? What's the data show on this? What do we know?
There has been very good amount of anecdotal stories, people with long COVIDs talking about taking NAD precursors and feeling much better, especially like they suffer from these chronic fatigue and especially brain fog. So the studies had started again with animal studies, mice studies. And the main things we have seen is, again, NAD helps with the immune system. NAD helps, very much like at the very fundamental level, increasing the energy production that helps optimize the organs. But it's helped with inflammatory responses. It showed that it enhanced the antiviral defenses, and it reduced the pneumonia symptoms, where COVID does affect the respiratory systems. Yeah. So it helped with the respiratory system. It decreased the clot formation in the lungs. So what happened is, after these animal studies, they have done actually a few very small but trials on humans to see if the same kind of results are replicating in humans. And most of the time, the results were positive. So, I mean, I have to be very careful. This is not in any way any medical advice, but, we need to do whatever we can to help the body to recover from these offenses. And in this case, it seems like not everybody, but, it seems like a lot of people are reporting very good results, and science is slowly backing these theories with the things I explained.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, I think, I actually was digging a lot of the literature when COVID was happening and looking at what was working, what was not working. And there were a lot of people actually studying NAD as part of a COVID therapy, both for a treatment of COVID, active COVID, and also long COVID. And again, COVID and long COVID are fundamentally diseases of inflammation and also mitochondrial dysfunction. A lot of the symptoms that occur for long COVID are mitochondrial dysfunction. And so things that help or correct that can be helpful. So I think it's very promising. We need more data, obviously, but again, these are very low risk compounds. They're relatively inexpensive compared to the suffering people go through, and there are things that are worth giving a shot. And it's not in itself that's going to cure you, but it's really a comprehensive lifestyle approach. I've actually prepared. I'm going to be releasing soon a guide on long COVID, and I do include these things in there on how people can handle the long COVID issues, because I get this every day from my patients, from friends. How do I help my patient? How do I help my friend? How do I help myself with long COVID? And I think we really can start to use these things and see how they do for us. I'm just really excited about the idea of bringing these biomolecules into widespread use and allowing people to understand the science behind them, and how, again, the fundamental concept I want to get across here is that these molecules, these biomolecules, are things that our bodies make that decline for various reasons. They can be used to activate a whole array of health-related pathways in the body, from regulating inflammation to mitochondrial function to oxidative stress to DNA repair regulating the immune system and many hormones and many other things that we're just learning about. So I think this is such an exciting time in medicine. I think what you're doing at Wonderfeel is great. Looking at the research you guys are doing is phenomenal. I encourage you to check it out and dig into the science. I wrote a lot about it in my book, Young Forever, but there's more and more coming out every day, literally. So I encourage you to check it out. It's been great to chat with you. I think you guys are doing a fabulous job over there. And everybody go check it out. And I'll put a link in the notes below about how to learn more about all this and stay connected. All right, everybody, you take care. We'll see you soon.
To see you.
Keep
Thank you
up
so
the
much, Mark.
good work. All right, bye bye.